ladies and gentlemen, life has a funny way of showing us exactly what we put into it. The truth is, if you don't take control of yourself, somebody else will. You can't keep sitting around waiting for the world to hand you opportunities or for luck to show up at your doorstep. That's not how success works. That's not how fulfillment works. You've got to reach a point in your life where you start blaming circumstances, start pointing fingers, and start owning every decision you make. Taking control of yourself is not just about discipline. It's about stepping into the role of being the driver, not the passenger of your own life. When I talk about taking control of yourself, the very first step you've got to understand is mastering your mindset. Your mind is the starting point of every victory and every defeat. The truth is, your life will always move in the direction of your strongest thoughts. If your thoughts are filled with negativity, doubt, fear, and worry, then you are creating a future that reflects those same things. But if your mind is set on growth, on faith, on hope, on determination, then you are planting seeds for a different kind of life. Everything you want to change about your life has to begin with what you allow to live in your mind. See, your mind is like soil, and every thought is a seed. Whatever you plant is going to grow. If you plant weeds, you can't be surprised when weeds take over. If you plant flowers, you can't be surprised when beauty blooms. But the problem is, most people aren't paying attention to what they're planting. They let anybody walk up, drop a seed, and walk away. Somebody insults them, and that seed of insecurity gets planted. Somebody tells them they can't do something, and that seed of doubt takes root. Pretty soon, they live in a life built on what other people said, not on what they believe. Taking control of yourself means standing guard at the gate of your mind. You've got to decide what comes in and what stays out. You can't stop negative thoughts from showing up, but you can stop them from taking residence. Let me tell you something. Your life is too valuable to be directed by the wrong thoughts. Every successful person you admire didn't just stumble into success. They created it first in their mind. They visualized it, they believed it, they spoke it, and they refused to let go of it, even when reality didn't match. You can't let what you see talk you out of what you know in your heart. The world might show you lack, but your mind has to hold on to abundance. The world might show you failure, but your mind has to hold on to victory. The world might show you obstacles, but your mind has to hold on to solutions. If you let the world shape your thoughts, you will always live beneath your potential. But if you let your vision, your faith, and your determination shape your thoughts, then you are putting yourself in position to rise above circumstances. Here's the reality. Controlling your mindset doesn't happen overnight. It's a daily battle. You wake up and immediately your mind tries to remind you of everything wrong, everything missing, everything broken, but you've got to wake up with the decision that you're not letting those thoughts run wild. You've got to replace them. Instead of saying, I can't, you've got to say, I can. Instead of saying, this is impossible, you've got to say, this might be tough, but I'll find a way. Instead of saying, I always fail, you got to say, every failure is a lesson pushing me closer to success. Your words shape your thoughts, and your thoughts shape your life. Ladies and gentlemen, you got to remember, success is not for the smartest. It's not for the luckiest. It's not for the ones born into wealth. It's for the ones who refuse to surrender their mindset to negativity. The people who go the farthest in life are not the ones who never face hardship, but the ones who keep believing when hardship shows up. Your mind can be your biggest enemy or your greatest ally. If you don't control it, it will control you. And when it controls you, it will pull you away from your purpose. But when you take charge of it, when you feed it truth, faith, and vision, then it will push you forward even when the odds are against you. That is the true beginning of taking control of yourself. One of the greatest steps in taking control of yourself is learning to take full responsibility for your life and your choices. See, too many people spend their entire lives pointing fingers. They point at their parents, their teachers, their boss, their government, their past, and everything else they can find to explain why their life is not what they want it to be. But I'm here to tell you, the moment you keep blaming outside forces for your problems is the exact moment you give away your power to change them. The truth is, nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is going to live your life for you. Nobody is going to hand you success, peace, or happiness on a silver platter. If your life is going to get better, it's because you decided to take control, and that begins with owning your choices. Taking responsibility doesn't mean you ignore the fact that bad things happen. Of course, life is unfair sometimes. Of course, there are setbacks, losses, and challenges we didn't choose. But even in those situations, we still get to choose how we respond. Do we let those challenges define us, or do we define ourselves in the middle of those challenges? Do we crumble, or do we rise? The choice is always ours. And when you realize that, it changes everything. Taking responsibility is not about feeling guilty or ashamed. It's about realizing that as long as you blame, you remain stuck. But when you own it, you gain the power to change it. You see, when I've seen so many people sit back and wait for their lives to change without ever changing what they do day by day. They want better, but they don't make better decisions. They want success, but they keep practicing failure habits. They want opportunities, but they waste their time on distractions. You can't say you want one thing and live in a way that completely contradicts it. Every single choice you make either pulls you closer to your goals or pushes you further away. And let me tell you something, the small choices matter just as much as the big ones. Waking up early, saving your money, staying focused, speaking kindly, working hard, showing gratitude. Those little choices stack up over time and create the life you end up living. Now, a lot of people don't like responsibility because responsibility means accountability. If you're responsible, you can't keep making excuses. And excuses are comfortable. They let you stay in the same place without guilt. But here's the danger. Excuses will steal your entire life if you let them. They feel good in the moment because they let you off the hook. But every excuse is another day wasted, another chance lost, another step backwards. Taking responsibility means you stop saying, I can't because, and you start saying, I can if. It changes the way you see problems. Instead of saying, I can't succeed because I didn't go to the right school, you say, I can succeed if I use my time wisely and build skills. Instead of saying, I can't get ahead because nobody believes in me, you say, I can get ahead if I keep believing in myself. Responsibility flips the script from limitation to possibility. Ladies and gentlemen, when you take responsibility, you discover something powerful. You realize you're not stuck. You realize you're not helpless. You realize you're not at the mercy of circumstances. You can change direction. You can change habits. You can change attitudes. You can make different choices starting today that lead to a completely different tomorrow. It won't happen instantly, but it will happen eventually if you stay consistent. The key is deciding that no matter what's behind you, you're responsible for what's ahead of you. You can't rewrite the past, but you can write the future with the choices you start making right now. So when I say take control of yourself, I'm saying stop waiting for somebody else to do it for you. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. Stop blaming the world for what you don't have. Own your life, own your mistakes, own your potential, and own your future. The only person standing in your way is the one in the mirror, and the only person who can move that person forward is you. One of the biggest battles you will ever face in life is the battle of your emotions. Most people lose control of themselves not because they don't have talent, not because they don't have opportunity, but because they let their emotions run the show. anger, jealousy, fear, doubt, insecurity. These emotions can take hold of you so tightly that you end up making decisions you regret, walking away from things you should have stayed with, or holding on to things you should have let go. When your emotions control you, your life becomes a reaction instead of a direction. And you can't lead yourself into greatness if you're living like a puppet being pulled by your feelings. Now, don't get me wrong, emotions are natural. Everybody feels anger, sadness, fear, and frustration at some point. That's part of being human. But the key is this: you cannot let temporary emotions create permanent damage in your life. Too many people lose their temper, and in 30 seconds, they destroy relationships they spent years building. Too many people get jealous, and instead of focusing on their own path, they waste their time and energy worrying about somebody else's. Too many people feel afraid, and instead of moving forward with courage, they sit still and let opportunities pass them by. The emotion itself isn't the problem. It's letting that emotion make the decisions for you that causes the damage. Mastering your emotions doesn't mean you never feel them. It means you feel them, but you don't let them drive. Think about it like this. Emotions are passengers in the car, but you're the driver. They can talk, they can shout, they can try to distract you, but you don't hand them the wheel, because if you do, you're going to end up in a ditch. Every successful person you see out there has had moments when their emotions tried to take over. Fear told them to quit. Doubt told them they weren't good enough. Anger told them to fight the wrong battles. But instead of letting those feelings take control, they chose discipline. They chose patience. They chose faith. That's why they made it farther than others. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, emotional control is a skill you have to build. It doesn't just show up because you want it. You've got to practice it. The next time you feel angry, instead of exploding, take a pause. Count to 10. Breathe. Give yourself time to think about the consequences before you act. When jealousy creeps in, remind yourself that somebody else's blessing doesn't take away from yours. What God has for them is theirs, and what He has for you is still coming. When fear shows up, don't deny it. Acknowledge it, but move forward anyway. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's moving forward in spite of it. Think about how many dreams never got started because people let fear stop them. Think about how many marriages ended because somebody let anger control them. Think about how many opportunities slipped away because somebody let self-doubt paralyze them. If you don't learn to master your emotions will master you. They will convince you to settle when you should strive. They will convince you to quit when you should persevere. They will convince you to lash out when you should stay calm. And in the end, you'll look back and realize it wasn't the world that stopped you. It was your inability to control yourself. But here's the good news. The moment you decide to take control of your emotions, you take back control of your future. You learn to respond instead of react. You learn to think before you move. You learn to protect your peace, your focus, and your vision from being destroyed by feelings that come and go. Ladies and gentlemen, your destiny is too important to let anger steal it, too valuable to let fear shrink it, and too powerful to let doubt hold it back. If you can learn to master your emotions, you can learn to master your life. If you really want to take control of yourself, then you got to learn how to discipline your time. Time is the most valuable resource you will ever have in your life. You can lose money and make it back. You can lose possessions and buy new ones. But once time is gone, it's gone forever. And the sad truth is, most people live like they got an endless supply of it. They waste hours, they waste days, they waste years, and then one day they look up and wonder why their dreams never came true. It wasn't because they weren't smart enough. It wasn't because they weren't talented enough. It was because they didn't respect the clock. See, every successful person you admire doesn't have more hours in a day than you do. They get the same 24 hours you get. The difference is how they use them. While some people spend their mornings scrolling through social media, the successful are already working on their vision. While some people are binge watching television, the successful are studying, planning, and building. While some people are hitting snooze, the successful are getting up and getting after it. The truth is, the way you spend your time reveals what you really value. You can say you want success, but if you give all your hours to distractions, you don't really want it. You can say you want financial freedom, but if you're wasting your evenings on nonsense instead of building skills, your actions don't match your words. Time is a currency, and every day you're spending it. The question is, what are you buying with your hours? Are you buying growth, progress, knowledge, and opportunity? Or are you buying regret, frustration, and stagnation? Too many people are investing their time into things that give them no return. They're pouring hours into drama, gossip, or entertainment that doesn't move them an inch closer to their goals. And here's the thing, those little wasted moments don't seem like much, but they add up. 10 minutes wasted here, an hour wasted there, a weekend wasted over there. And before you know it, you've lost years. Ladies and gentlemen, you can't afford to keep living like you've got forever. You've got to start treating your time like the treasure it is. Discipline means setting boundaries. It means learning to say no. It means protecting your schedule like you protect your bank account. If you wouldn't let somebody rob you of $100, why are you letting them rob you of hours you could never get back? Every distraction you allow is time you can't reclaim. That's why discipline isn't just about working hard, it's about working smart. It's about identifying what really matters and making sure you give your energy to those things first. Some of you are one discipline schedule away from a completely different life. If you woke up earlier, if you cut out the wasted hours, if you gave consistent time to your goals, you would be amazed at the progress you make. But most people don't do it because discipline is uncomfortable. It requires sacrifice. It requires giving up temporary pleasure for long-term reward. But let me tell you, comfort has never created greatness. Discipline always pays off, even if the results don't show up immediately. Think about it like planting seeds. You don't see a harvest the day after you plant, but if you keep showing up, watering, nurturing, and giving time, eventually it grows. Your goals work the same way. Discipline with your time is the water and sunlight your dreams need. Without it, they die. With it, they flourish. So when you look at your life and wonder why something hasn't changed, don't just look at your desires. Look at your daily calendar, because your schedule is a mirror of your priorities. And your priorities are shaping your destiny. If you really want to take control of yourself, you've got to take control of the company you keep. The people you allow into your circle play a bigger role in your future than you might realize. You cannot surround yourself with negativity and expect to live a positive life. You cannot surround yourself with people who are lazy, who are dreamless, who are going nowhere, and expect to somehow rise above. The truth is, energy is contagious. Attitudes rub off. Habits spread. And whether you notice it or not, you are becoming a reflection of the people you spend the most time with. If you're serious about taking control of your life, you've got to look at your environment and ask yourself, are the people around me pushing me forward or pulling me back? See, you can't keep hanging out with people who only want to talk about gossip, drama, or failure and expect to stay focused on success. You can't keep entertaining relationships with people who laugh at your dreams or downplay your ambitions and expect to grow in confidence. You can't keep letting toxic voices fill your ears and expect peace to fill your heart. Surrounding yourself with the wrong crowd will drain you of energy, clarity, and motivation until you start lowering yourself to their level. Before long, you'll be accepting things you once said you'd never tolerate, and you'll be living a life you never intended to. That's the danger of the wrong circle. It shapes you little by little until you no longer recognize yourself. But on the flip side, when you surround yourself with the right people, everything changes. The right people will challenge you, not belittle you. They will hold you accountable, not let you settle. They will celebrate your wins and encourage you through your losses. They'll see potential in you that you might not even see in yourself. That's why it's so important to be intentional about who you let close. Not everybody deserves access to your mind, your energy, or your vision. Protect your circle like you protect your future, because in many ways, they are the same thing. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. You're saying, but Steve, these are my friends. This is my family. These are people I've known for years. And I understand that. But let me tell you something. Just because you've known someone a long time doesn't mean they're meant to go with you where you're headed. Sometimes God gives you a vision that not everyone around you will understand. And that's okay. It's not their vision. It's yours. But if you let them talk you out of it, if you let their limitations become your limitations, you'll never see it come to pass. Taking control of yourself means having the courage to distance yourself from people who don't align with your growth. It doesn't mean you hate them. It doesn't mean you look down on them. It just means you value your future enough to guard it. Think about it this way. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If you're constantly around people who complain, who make excuses, who never take responsibility, then you're going to pick up those same habits. But if you're around people who dream bigger, who push harder, who stay disciplined, then you'll be motivated to rise to that same standard. Surround yourself with winners and you'll start thinking like a winner. Surround yourself with people of integrity and you'll start living with more integrity. Surround yourself with people who believe in growth and you'll keep growing. Ladies and gentlemen, hear me on this. Your environment will either fuel your greatness or suffocate it. If you want to fly, stop hanging around people who are comfortable crawling. If you want to build, stop spending your time with people who are busy tearing down. If you want to take control of yourself, start by controlling the voices you allow around you. Because your circle is either your cage or your ladder, and the choice of which one it becomes is entirely up to you. If you truly want to take control of yourself, you've got to make a decision that growth never stops. Too many people get to a certain point in life and think they've arrived. They land the job, they get the house, they reach some level of comfort, and then they stop pushing themselves. They stop learning, they stop stretching, they stop seeking out new challenges. And what happens? They slowly begin to shrink. Life is always moving forward, and if you're standing still, you're actually falling behind. The moment you stop growing, you hand over control to comfort and stagnation, and nothing kills potential faster than a person who thinks they've already done enough. Growth is not a season, it's a lifestyle. As long as you are breathing, there's another level for you to reach. There's more wisdom to gain, more skills to sharpen, more character to develop, more faith to strengthen, more lives to impact. You don't stop growing just because you've achieved something. In fact, achieving something should make you even hungrier to see what else you're capable of. Taking control of yourself means refusing to settle. That means saying, I may be proud of how far I've come, but I'm not done yet. The growth isn't always easy. It requires you to step outside of what feels safe. It requires you to face new challenges that stretch your patience, your discipline, sometimes even your confidence. But those challenges are exactly what shape you into who you're meant to become. Think about it like working out at the gym. Growth comes from resistance. You don't get stronger by lifting what's comfortable. You get stronger by lifting what pushes you beyond your limits. Life works the same way. The setbacks, the struggles, the failures, they're not there to destroy you. They're there to develop you. Every obstacle you face is really an opportunity for growth if you choose to see it that way. But here's the danger. Some people run from growth because it requires change. They want the results of growth without the process of it. They want success, but don't want to sacrifice. They want maturity, but don't want responsibility. They want progress, but don't want discomfort. But you can't have it both ways. Growth will cost you something: time, effort, pride, maybe even relationships that no longer serve. But I promise you, whatever growth costs you, staying the same will cost you far more. Taking control of yourself also means being intentional about your growth. You can't leave it up to chance. You've got to feed your mind with knowledge. Surround yourself with people who challenge you, and put yourself in situations that stretch you. Read books, listen to mentors, practice your craft, learn new skills, reflect on your mistakes. Growth doesn't just happen automatically. You've got to pursue it. And the more you invest in yourself, the more valuable you become, not just to your career, not just to your family, but to yourself. Because deep down, you'll know you are not the same person you were yesterday. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, growth isn't just about achievements. It's also about becoming a better human being, growing in patience, in kindness, in humility, and love. That's just as important as growing in success. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much you accomplish if you're not also becoming a person of character. Real control over yourself isn't just measured by what you achieve, but by who you become in the process. So never stop growing, never stop reaching, never stop asking, what's next for me? Because as long as you're alive, there's more inside of you waiting to be developed. And the moment you start pursuing growth, you stop controlling your future. If you want to live the life you were meant to live, you've got to commit to constant progress. That's how you take control of yourself and keep becoming everything you were created to be.